Anybody who tells my wife to F off is a buddy of mine. And then
there's something about you.
Right, and then after that, I just started working together, and it became a great relationship between.
That was around what year? Like 72, 71?
The end of 71, beginning of 72. You know.
And what album was he working?
That was
with?
Imagine at the time. Okay. We were just doing. We did Imagine, and then after that, I did I did Mind Games, Walls and Bridges, sometime in New York City.
How many songs did you engineer on each album? On
all of them. I mean, when I say engineer, I did a lot of the overdubs.
Right.
You know, we may have cut the tracks and then did all the overdubs later on, and then we went. And when it came to mixing, we mixed. If you look on Walls and Bridges, you'll see my name is Papa Dennis. Yeah. Right. I know I was there, and the best time I had with John was like when we were waiting late at night for the car.
Right.
And he would bring his acoustic into the control room, and we'd sit down, and he'd put his legs up on the control room, and he'd just start playing. And whatever song he played, short of something I never heard, I always sang harmony with him.
Right.
And he just said, wow, he said, I can't believe that you pick up the harmony that fast. I said, yeah. He said, you almost sound as good as another guy I know. I said, well, if you need an extra singer, I could always jump in, you know. And that was how I met John, and I had a great relationship with for like almost 4.5 years, 5 years.
Now you got a relationship with May Pang, and you still do today.
From that day, from that first day, because she came in, and after that, Yoko didn't want me to be on the sessions, and she would go to May, and she goes, "I don't want Dennis on the sessions," and she'd say, "Why?" And she said, "Because."
Since that time? Resentment from that time?
Well, not resentment from that time. She just, because I believe in, as an engineer and as a producer, if you run a really tense session, you get nothing done.
Right,
if you run a session where everybody's having a good time, people are laughing, the artist goes out and feels like, wow, this is a party. This is not something like like I'm doing something I have to do. And she hated that I made everybody laugh.
Yeah, right.
And May said, well, John wants him. Yeah. And that was the only thing that kept me working.
So there was like a little possession thing, like, maybe.
No, not so much possession as I think it was control. She wanted control on everything. When you walked in there, everybody was like, when she was around, John was a different man. Right. He was like very businesslike and everything. Right. When she wasn't around, he was like one of the guys.
Yeah, and he could relax a little bit.
Yeah, and that's the way it was,
Yeah. Then the time that happened after, finding out what happened with John. Talk about that night that happened. You know what I mean? I know it's hard to do. In December that year, 1980, I was doing the last big album of the Four Tops, and I was going home I guess it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and I saw Jack Douglas, who was. We were in a band together. And Jack was working.
Jack was co-producing it with John. Right. He was producing Double Fantasy. They were doing a new mix. Right. He was at the record plant. Yeah, I was up the corner at RCA.
Wow.
I saw Jack. Jack says, John has been asking for you. Why don't you come up? And I said, Jack, I'm tired. I mean, I've been here since 10 o'clock in the morning. You guys came in at 7. But yeah, no big deal. Yeah. And at that time, I would always say, well, if I don't see him now, I'll see him next week. I'll see him the week after. I'll see him soon.
Eventually. Yeah.
Well, now we're cleaning up. It's 11 o'clock. I'm straightening up. I said, I got to go. And my producer comes out and says, he's white as a sheet. Right. I said, what happened? Right. He said, my wife just called me and told me that John's been shot. And I said, what a horrible thing to say. Right. I said, I'm going. Yeah. He said, no, I'm serious.
It's so
I said,
surreal,
yeah. I said, how would you, nobody would ever think that would happen.
Right.
And as a side note, I remember May telling me that he told her one time that if he ever died, he said he didn't want to die from a gunshot. Yeah. And that's very prophetic, because that's the way he did die.
Right. They had a thing with a window and a broken glass, and Yoko had that. And that. So then I went. The producer went inside and came out about, I guess, 10 minutes later. Right.
And he said, "Sit down." I said, "Why?" He said, "Sit down." And then he told me John's dead. And I said, "You got to be kidding me." Yeah. I said, "It's a horrible thought." Yeah. He said, "I'm serious." Yeah. So I went inside and I called May, and I got on the phone and she was hysterical. She was screaming and crying. Yeah.
And I I mean, I was just like, I was in shock that I turned around and walked out of the studio, left everything on, the tapes on the machine. I just walked out.
And you know, so many people felt that didn't know John as personal as you guys worked with him, but the fans out there felt the same way. Like even, you know, I felt the same way. I was in the city, right now, 2 blocks away. You know what I mean? I heard
He never.
the
You gotta
sirens
understand, John never preached violence.
Yeah.
He always said, you know, peace
and love.
The government was scared to death of him, because if he would have came out and said, you know, Richard Nixon was running for president at that time, the second time. If he would have said, you know, Nixon is, you know, Richard Nixon is not a good man. He's, you know, there's something, you know, you should get somebody. He would have never won the election. That's why they were shadowing him with black cars and everything. And then after the election, after Nixon won the election, they stopped. It all went away. You know.
It's
so
a shame
it was a shame.
Very good, you know, because him and Yoko, they did stand for so much, you know, together. You know, she was like his rock too, you know, by having her.
Well,
He was in love with
you know,
her,
we everybody has their theories about why. I mean, I know Cynthia very well. Cynthia's a lovely woman. She really is. And knowing her and then knowing Yoko, it's like, you know, 2 ends of an extreme. You know, and I just, you know, I don't know. I just, I couldn't understand it.
And it's a shame because, John Lennon was going through a period where he was like, you know, he had the child, Sean, and he was being more of a father, and there was a change going on after the whole war and protesting. It was kind of ending, you know what I mean, around that time. Now we're in the 80s, and there was a whole new generation of John that was ready for the whole world.
John, the reason John became a house husband, so to speak, was because he didn't raise Julian. You know, he was away. The Beatles were, you know, incredible at that point. He was never home. So he really never had a relationship with his son. When he was going with May, she got him to meet Julian. And Julian, she invited Julian over. They were living in Los Angeles at the time. They went to Disneyland, and I mean, you know, it was a whole. I mean, if you look in the book, in her book, the photo book, you could see the pictures, how happy John is.
Finally,
matter of fact, it's a side note. A week, the day he was murdered, a week later, had he lived, he was having a party back in Liverpool with his family, which he hadn't seen in years. He has stepsisters, and you know, it was like, it was, that would have been great, you know, and unfortunately, it was taken too soon.
The most hurtful part for me is that after all that happened, everyone was in such a shock, and this song comes out called Woman. And I just cried my head off. I mean, that song hurt me. That song was painful for me. When I heard him sing that song, when I hear it, it just kills me. It just tears me. When I hear that song, I hear everything that bothered him in his life. And when I heard that song, I just, you know, when that part, this was so painful for me. When I hear it today, I do that. It was very, very hard time for the people in America and for the Beatles fans and people that loved them. And it was just it was terrible.
A Beatle fan, and John being my, you know, my favorite Beatle, it was heartsick for days, you know, weeks. I think the biggest thing was that I shared with most people is just, it was hard to fathom the whole thing really happened. I mean, I remember the next day getting up, and even the DJs on the radio didn't know how to act. And it was, you turned the radio
you
on.
don't know what to say.
It was all Beatles, you know, it was all Lennon music. And of course, it was near Christmas time. So the song, his Christmas song was playing a lot. Imagine was being played over and over. Double Fantasy was, you know, climbing the charts, and now that was being, it was just, you were annihilated with John all of a sudden, and he wasn't there, which was very, and the thing that always struck me was that was it. There would never be another song that you would ever hear again by this man. That was the end of it, you know. So it was hard. I mean, I share that with, I mean, you have people like Dennis that knew him. I only knew him from my love of the Beatles, you know. So it was a tough thing, very tough.
Now, let's talk a little about the paintings. We're gonna touch on the paintings, and then we're gonna go to the band. Talk a little about the paintings that you have right here.
You can start with the first one. It's that's actually the press conference with John and Paul in New York. I figured that would be a good thing to bring with me for the New York thing. Is that okay with you?
It's perfect. Anything you bring is perfect. Because
And,
it's like all your art is so beautiful. You're such a great artist.
Thank you.
Every piece that you have is a masterpiece to me. You know. I mean, I Lord Knight you. Well, what do they call they can't knight you. They have to queen you.
I don't know
You're
what
queen.
I don't know what they do, Phil.
But I'll give you beef jerky. So how about that?
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Or a checker bar.
Thank you. You're the best.
Yeah.
Shall we go back to the painting?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the painting is that is the press conference with Paul and John when they announced Apple, which was their new company.
Right.
And I think there's Channel 7 on there or something. It was a big conference. It was great. But as you can see, I try to get as much detail as I possibly can.
That's what Let It Be, period, let's say, around there?
No, it was earlier. It was probably around the Hey Jude Revolution White Album, you know what I mean? And the other one, the same thing. Actually, the second painting is a part in the Hey Jude film where John and Paul are just glancing at each other. So it's they're actually looking at each other in different poses. But anyway, that's what they are. And again, I try to get as much detail as I possibly can, and that's really the magic for me, is making sure that they look exactly like, you know, you see a lot of Beatle paintings out there, and they kind of look similar to them, you know. But I try to get them like spot on.
How long does it take to do these paintings now? You work on them?
They usually take something like these two, a couple weeks, but a lot of hours. You know, like once I'm on a painting, I don't like to stop, like maybe 18 to 20-hour days, you know.
It's really great work.
Thank you, Chubby.
It's
I
really
appreciate
fabulous.
that. And this is an
I mean,
awesome
really
beef jerky and a checker bar there.
Really, really fabulous.
Thank you.
The faces.
Coming from you,
That's
that
just
means
amazing.
Like photographs.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
No, it's just amazing. You do such great work. Wow.
Thanks.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Wow.
Now, you had, I met you down at Strawberry Fields just recently for, it would have been John's 70th birthday, and you had a gallery showing, but you were starting a painting of Lennon at 70. He would have been 70 years old. Now, you started the painting, but you couldn't finish it in one day, of course.
No, we
but
got
you
a lot
did
done.
a lot done, yeah. Now, what's going on with that? Do you have anything for the future for that?
You mean, am I going to
You're going to
bring
veil
it
it
out
again,
so
bring
people
it
can
out.
see? Probably when I'm 70, I'll have it done.
No.
No, it's
But it was
it's
wonderful.
actually done,
Yeah.
and I think what we'll probably do is release it at the next show that I do.
Okay.
You know, so it's a tough situation because doing John
don't
at
wanna
70
rush.
years old is, there are some people that want to see it because they're curious, but I got to tell you, there's a lot of people that I don't think want to see him.
Right.
You know, they want to remember him as he was. So it's kind of a bittersweet thing.
Okay.
You know, but
All right.
I will have it out
I respect
there.
your honesty.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I respect yours.
Thank you. All right, so at this point of the show, we had such great discussion. So let's hear from the Gar Francis Band, rocking on New York Rocks. Who rocks better than us? Nobody rocks like New York Rocks. New York's the best. Let's hear it, the Gar Francis Band.
Look out, world, here she comes again. Butterflies and rainbows are the trend. of fun. All these years and still the beat goes on. No one can change her world. She's still the sunshine girl. Shine on, shine on, shine on, shine on. No one can change her world. She's still the sunshine girl. Shine on, shine on, shine on. Baby boomers, sit back and take view. Graffiti masters, Peter Max tattoos. She's still grooving with the fashion crowd. A natural beauty signing peace out loud. No one can change her world. She's still the sunshine girl. Shine on, shine on, shine on, shine on. Shine on, shine on, shine on, shine on.
Thank you. Phil, my man, Phil. Nobody, New York rocks, right?
Man, I want to thank you for coming down here tonight and on short notice, of course.
Anything.
But I'm telling you, but when you want the best, you got the best. And, you know, I know you guys are really great at what you do. And I want to thank you for doing that for me. You know what I mean?
Anything for you, Phil.
You're the best. I said, I love that guy. That guy, Gar Francis, we got to get him back. You know, you're always welcome to come on the show at any time.
And with Chubby.
Yeah.
With Chubby.
You having a good time?
How great is
Having
that?
a good time?
It
Yeah.
doesn't get
well,
better than that.
He's the best
And the
there is.
Beatles.
And the Beatles, best artist, and the best engineer in
The
the
best
world.
engineer, too. I
That's
haven't
it.
met yet.
Yeah. Well, you meet him. Actually, Dennis did a lot of work with different artists, mainly not just John Lennon, also Elvis. And,
Maybe he'll do Gar Francis.
you never know. You never know. Okay, now I want to thank Mo Pro. You know, Moni, you came down here, brought me down here. The Bongo Boy Records, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's talk about what's going on with the band. Go ahead.
Well, we're in the process of doing, you know that I'm in Plainfield Slim also.
Right.
We're doing a new album for Plainfield Slim and the Groundhogs. We just released a new single from Genya Ravon, who was in 10-Wheel Drive back in his late 70s. I wrote and produced that song for her. It's an old kind of Janis Joplin, R&B kind of thing. Doughboys are doing a new live DVD, new live album, and we're going in to record our third album, actually.
So you got three bands going on. You got the Plainfield Slim, the Gar Francis Band, and also the Doughboys. It's amazing.
Like to stay busy.
Yeah, well, you are a busy person. I love your songwriting and your guitar playing. And the band that you have here, of course, we have Rocco Scavone on the drums. There you go. We'll give a hand for Rocco. And we have Mike Caruso. There you go. Caruso, another paisano. So what songs do you have for us now? We want to hear a couple of songs. And
I'm going to do a song just for you
all right.
called Keep Your Dog Off Me.
Ah, that's a good song. Actually, I heard that song. I enjoyed that song. It's a really good song. But what is that about? Go ahead. Go ahead. It has a meaning. You know, songs all have meaning.
It does have a meaning. It's about people who just bug you. That's what it's about.
I know. Well, I got a lot of people bugging me now.
Old wives, old girlfriends.
Yeah. Sometimes bugging is good. It depends on who's bugging you, right?
That's right.
You don't want those bed bugs bugging you. All right. Well, I want to thank you again for coming on and rocking out with us.
Thank you for
We're
having us.
hearing with the Gar Francis Band rocking on New York Rocks. So let's hear for the Gar Francis Band rocking on New York Rocks right now, right here. Let's do it, baby.
Thanks again, Phil.
Baby, keep your dog off me. Don't bring him round, spreading all his wings. See him round neighborhood, picking through trash, up to no good. Baby, keep your dog off me. Hang out with that Benjamin. Don't care what you do. Keep your dog off me. Baby, keep your dog locked tight. He's big and he's mean and it don't smell right. Ever since he caught me looking at you, ain't no telling what that hound will do. Baby, keep your dog locked tight. Hang out with that Benjamin. Don't care what you do. Keep your dog off me. Keep your dog off me. Hang out with that Benjamin. Don't care what you do. Keep your dog off me. Baby, I'ma have to put you down. Drag that dog to the county bound. Come around here, sniffing on me. Don't need no half-breed picking on me. Baby, I'ma have to put you down. You hang out with that Benjamin. Don't care what you do. Keep your dog off me. Keep your dog off me.
I want to thank everybody for coming down. I want to thank all my friends out there. I want to thank my crew. I want to thank Kevin and the crew here at CTV and all the wonderful people, my friend Dominic who came down. Thank you very much, by the way.
It's very nice being here. I shan't forget you. You're marvelous.
You're such a great person.
And it's just like family, right?
Yeah.
You just melt like, that's what I'm just like, I come to your house, you cook me, I just blend right in.
My mother cooked some nice pasta.
Yes, I'll blend right
I like
in.
the Italian food, you know.
Because I'm a Calabrese.
I'm a Calabrese too. I'm a half and half. Half Sicilian, half Calabrese.
I'm all Calabrese.
We're somewhat thick-headed though.
And then I'm also a lunchman too. Don't forget I'm a lunchman as well. Yeah, okay.
You got that girl. You gotta watch out. Well, you know what? If they want to find out more about you, they can find out at chubbychecker.com,
Yes.
and they can find out all the great things that you're doing now. And what new projects you're going to be working on? Tell everybody.
I'm working on something tonight. I'm working on something because I saw the band tonight.
Right.
We're going to get together next month, and I have this tune that I'm working on. And when I heard you guys play, you've got to play this tune, and I have the arrangement all done. It'll take about 6 hours, and it'll be done.
There you go.
It's going to happen in New York City
It's an honor and a pleasure.
on 110th Street
look at
and
that.
Columbus Boulevard. I'm going to be calling you. Whatever happens, there's this song that's going to happen right here on your
And
show.
you heard it right here on New York Rocks. How about that? That's cool. That's really cool. I'm honored. I'm honored to have you here.
Producing a group called C4 Experience. We just finished.
Right.
And now I'm beginning, I'm doing Shannon's record.
Sure.
We are now, collaborating on her record, and that should be out in, what, summertime? Beginning of the summertime. Title.
The title is
Got it.
Red Pyramids in Blue Sky.
Okay, now, Dennis, there's a way of finding out more about you. Tell everybody how they can contact you.
Put my name in.
Dennis
You can become
Ferrante.
my friend, and you can know exactly what I find that I'm doing. I don't know. Half the time I have to look on Facebook to see where I've been.
Okay, Shannon, now yourself. How can they find out more what's going on with you? I know you have a couple of websites out there. Would you like to tell everybody?
Yes, my website is www.theshannongallery.com.
Okay. And Chubby, any final statements on tonight?
Everything's wonderful. Checker bars and beef jerky and
The album.
the album. And don't forget about the guys.
Right.
Forget about it. And Big Al's, thank you for
Big Al.
allowing us to have this and the aquarium. We thank you, gentlemen,
You're
for
very nice.
making all this possible for us because we're forever thankful.
Thank you.
We thank you. My wife thanks you. My kids thank you. The Internal Revenue Service is grateful. Thank you.
And with that, thank you very much for watching New York Rocks. Until next time, you guys rock the best.
I wanna tag along. I've been cooped up all week long. It's time to sing this song. There's a party going on.